Welcome to Filmmaker IQ's Video Basement. I'm John Hess, and I'm going to show you some basic tips for shooting film noir. For a real in-depth look at all things film noir, make sure you check out Filmmaker IQ's The Ultimate Filmmaker's Guide to Film Noir. It covers a lot of the genre's history, the look, and the visual style. What I'm going to do today is give you a few beginning pointers to help you try to get close to that film noir look. We'll focus on some very basic DIY lighting for shadows, cookies, and coloring for film noir. Now this will be borderline cliche, so I'm going to leave it up to you to add that spark of creativity and originality. Film noir literally means black film. We're not talking about bright scenes and happy subject matters. Definitely not talking about that. In photography, this just screams for low-key lighting. Think of low-key lighting as objects being set against black. Black will dominate your frame, hence film noir, black film. Now you're going to use light to give your subject matters the depth and appearance of three-dimensionality. What I mean by that is you're going to place your lights on the sides, like I have here, which kind of shows you the shape of my face. Instead of having a flat light, we have a China ball here. Instead of having a flat lighting like that where you can see in the face but you don't see the shape, we're going to move that light over to the side, and now you can see all the contours of my face. Now in a recent lighting review, I proclaimed that work lights are the scourge of the devil and should never be used under penalty of death. Here's one right now. For that I got some flack from some work light devotees who defend them as if they're the only option that a poor filmmaker has. And that were the case, you know what, I'd be really sympathetic. But the truth is you have a lot more options. This guy right here I bought at the hardware store for $14. This guy was $7. And this is going to give you a lot more use. First, let's take a look at the quality of light that comes out of here. Avert your eyes, children. Okay, now if you can see, I'm turning the light. Do you see all the little tiny specks of light as I shine it back and forth? That's a very uneven light. And yes, that's without having the screen on front. That's caused by all the little dimples in here and the way this cone reflector is built. I mean, it's not built for even light projection. Compare that to this floodlight here. It's going to throw in a 200 watt frosted bulb. See how much more even light you're going to get out of that? I'll have to compare it one more time. Here's the work light. Now do you see all the little stripes that are in that light? Another great thing about these heat lamps, clamps. These will clamp onto a table, a chair, a light stand, anything you might have will clamp to it, and you can adjust it and light it. With this reflector, this makes a pretty decent flood lamp. Now take the reflector off and guess what you have? You have a light socket by itself. Now what's really cool is you can pop any kind of bulb you want on here. Anything from a high wattage bulb to get more light. Careful, there's going to be a little more heat with more watts. You can throw a flood on, even complex fluorescence, although you want to watch the color temperature. Well, let's talk about shadows for a minute here. If you want clean shadows cast by your light, you need light rays that are parallel to each other as much as possible. With a flood, like what's on with the reflector on, the light rays are getting scattered all about, so they don't make very clean shadows. You're going to get a very blurry shadow. To get the light rays perfectly parallel to each other, professional spotlights use big lenses to correct the light scattering effect and get all those rays going basically the same direction. That's really expensive and really it's hard to do that DIY. So what's the next best thing? Well, let's go with single point lighting. Now here I'm going to use this 150 watt incandescent bulb. I found one that had the lighting element as small as possible. A lot of lighting elements are circular, and that creates some weird shadows. So I wanted something that just almost like a straight line. So I found this 150 watt bulb. Let's drop it into our light socket here. This gets hot, by the way, so be careful when we take it apart. Now the idea with the single point lighting is all the lights radiate from a central point. The farther away you get from it, the more parallel they become, the more parallel peering they become, to the point where they're almost parallel, but it's close enough for what we're trying to do. Now notice with the bulb, a bare bulb, how much sharper our shadows are now. Now let's compare our good old shop light. Where's my hand? Ugh, ugly light. Certainly not the clean, crisp shadows that a basic incandescent bulb can give you. Now here's a shot where we're using that single point lighting to create some interesting shadows. This is an industrial fan I have right here on a dimmer, so it's really rotating very slowly. And a 50-watt bulb that's right behind it, casting this rather interesting film noir style shadow on my face. So the shadows caused by that rotating fan kind of leads us naturally to a subject matter called cookies. Cookies! Yeah. Not that kind of cookie. We're actually technically referring to Gobos, short for go-betweens. They go between the light and the subject matter. And they're very easy to make. In fact, I'm going to show you how to do a DIY cookie right now. I have a piece of scrap poster board right here. It's white. It doesn't have to be, you can use any color you want. The only concern is if light bounces off of it, you don't want like a weird color bouncing light off, but we're going to send light through it, so it's not really a bounce issue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this poster board and fold it about 1/3 of the way through. Just going to fold it so it's like 1/3. And the reason why I did this is so that it will kind of stand by itself like that. Okay? Now I'm going to take a pair of scissors. Here's an old one that I had. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut little slits into the poster board. Now you want to keep these slits fairly small because of the way the light, we're going to put this gobo pretty close to the light, and the larger the slits, the more room they'll have to expand, and that doesn't look quite like the film noir horizontal blinds we're kind of used to. So let's give it a shot here. Okay, I cut out a bunch of slits for my gobo here. We'll put the light right behind here, cast shadow on the back wall. And we've got ourselves our horizontal film noir background. Just one more step, and that's color. Okay, here we are in Adobe After Effects, and I'm going to demonstrate some color techniques using a clip from Pitch Black. I figured you'd had enough staring at my ugly face for a while. You get to stare at something quite nice and quite lovely. We have that real low-key lighting going on right here. Now, first and foremost, I don't believe that film noir needs to be in black and white. I believe that there's a lot of good color film noir films out there. Now, I wouldn't use something as quite as bright as this. I'm going to show you an effect, the filters I've used to kind of taken down. What you have done is taken down the saturation down to about 40. I'll go down about 50 or so. I'm using After Effects, although you'll find many of these tools in any NLE that does color correction. I've got a little curves filter here where I'm kind of popped the brights just a little bit more, so I get a little more highlight, and I'm taking the shadows down just a tiny bit. So I got rich, deep, dark blacks and nice, big, bright whites. So there is the color corrected version, and I can still play with that some more. That's not exactly what I want. Here's before, here's after. So it's a much more edgier, much more moodier look to it. Now, if you want to go black and white, there's a couple different options. You can go with a black and white where you just take the saturation down all the way to -100, and then what you want to do with the curves is bring up the curves a little bit so that the whites kind of pop off the top there. So that'll get a little more light in her face. This is kind of where a lot of amateur film noirs go wrong. They think that just turning on the saturation down to 0 gives you a nice film noir look. It's kind of bland by itself. You throw curves on there and you get a little more of that film noir look to it. Now, After Effects does come with another filter called black and white. which goes into a little bit more detail with what you can do. You can actually adjust the way that the reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magentas, how they affect the luminance of the black and white. Now this is going to go a little bit longer than the explanation that I can give you in this particular tutorial because I am running out of time. So you want to check out our forum. I did a pretty good little write-up on what all these things do. If I want the yellows real bright, I can bring up the yellows or take them down. Maybe I don't want the yellow door in the background to be seen. Okay, bring it down. Got greens, cyans you really don't see. Got a lot of blues because of the blue light on her face. So we take the blues all the way down and notice how her face kind of, because of the blue light that's on her face. So this is just another way of doing black and white. So there you have it, 3 very simple, very straightforward, basic techniques to make your film noir just a little bit more film noir-y. Make sure to check out our Ultimate Filmmaker's Guide to Film Noir for more information about the genre. And I'll see you next time at filmmakeriq.com.